Welcome to Election Day, the greatest day, perhaps, in my lifetime. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. I'm Doug TenNapel. We have top-selling Pray for Trump mugs below. We have Doug in Exile t-shirts below. And we have The View.
He declared that he shouldn't have left the White House.
Dumb. Okay, we're going to go into the lack of wisdom on The View. We're going to get to polls and why they're all off and why Trump is going to win.
At the end of his term. I mean, I don't think we should have let him into the White House, but there he was.
There you go. Election denier. She says we shouldn't have let Trump into the White House in the first place. That's how the left really thinks. Remember, every time they project onto you that someone isn't going to leave office, they really mean that their candidate has no intention of leaving office. There will be massive lawsuits after tonight's election with how long some of the swing states are going to take to get in. Arizona has said possibly 12 days, even though it's a massive blowout for Trump. The lawyers will descend.
And he said, I don't mind if reporters are shot at. And the Democratic Party was very demonic. So you have...
Now, when she says the Democratic Party is demonic, we claim that. And that is true. So that's not a lie, but saying that we laughed at journalists, the serious idea that someone would shoot them, that's a lie. So that's one lie for Sonny. We're going to get to Barron Trump's truths at the end of this video. But just remember, they're the ones who threaten free speech. Kamala Harris herself, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry have come out and said that free speech must be monitored so that they can stay in control. They will label all Republican points of view as misinformation that ought to be investigated by the FBI. They'll use their Department of Justice to shut it down. They're the threat to free speech, not Trump cracking a joke about journalists' hairdo.
The vice president offering hope, unity.
Now she's saying that Kamala Harris is offering hope and unity, after President Biden called us garbage.
The likelihood of this being a one-term presidency is high, not low, because we are a country that has been voting against. We voted against Hillary Clinton in 16 and got Trump. We voted against Trump in 20 and got Biden. I think this is another vote against election, not a vote for.
And she screamed at us. Kamala Harris screams at us. Trump doesn't scream at us. She thinks that Kamala's doing the big, I'm supposed to rest thinking that Kamala Harris cares what I think or my family values ought to be defended. No, she only believes in defending the left half of America. Trump wants to be president for everybody. He will find way more agreement with Democrats than Kamala Harris will ever find for the right half of America. She wants to imprison us.
While Trump threatens the press, sexually assaults a microphone, and drove around in a garbage truck.
Allegedly.
Throw him in prison. What do you mean he drove around in a garbage truck? She sees that as a net negative. She sees that as a bad thing. That shows how elite I don't think Sonny even has touched her own garbage, has dumped her own trash in a decade. Trump is the working man's man, and that is what she's at war with. This is ABC, The View, on stay-at-home moms and women at home watching politics. That's what she has to say about the working class people, is that Trump is bad for driving around in a garbage truck. Really?
Which one resonates, right? Which one resonates? Yeah.
We're going to find out which one resonates tonight.
It looks close, but the Trump campaign feels good about where they are because of the early vote. For the first time in history, Republicans are ahead in the early vote. That's in person and in mail ballot combined. They're ahead in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Nevada, and have cut Democrats' early vote lead in Pennsylvania by half. But the Trump campaign says women and urban voters are down from 2020, and rural voters showing up big.
I have a pretty good guess. Most people really dig garbage collectors, Sonny, more than your weirdo underwater basket weaving feminist algebra majors, what they do.
Look. Here's the situation. We've been talking about the 7 battleground states, Arizona 3, Georgia 1 for Trump, less than a point in North Carolina, less than a point in Nevada. And then along your Great Lake battleground states, less than a point lead for Harris in Pennsylvania, less than a point in Wisconsin, less than a point in Michigan.
That's CNN on the polls being so tight. I believe this is also evidence that media or poll takers are biased against Trump. I believe that information will share out as we cover all these clips from CNN.
This is how tight it is. If you put the polls to the electoral map, Kamala Harris carries these Great Lake battleground states despite losing all of the Sunbelt battleground states. I'm coming to John's side of the screen. you get to 270 electoral votes. That is as tight as it can possibly be, Mr. Berman.
First of all, this is good news because her only path to 270 is to take Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania, according to the polls, is tied. It's also tied in Michigan and Wisconsin. Harris can't afford to lose any of these states because Donald Trump's ahead by at least a point or two in North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada.
That was in the circle that he made. She has to get Pennsylvania to barely eke over 270. That's the narrowest path to victory for her, and it's not going to work.
The polls at the end of each campaign, right now 270 in 2024, that is the tightest that the polls have ever been projected on the electoral map, even tighter than 2000 when Al Gore was projected to get 281 electoral votes since 1972. The bottom line is, Mr. Berman, it is historically tight at the end of this campaign.
All right.
That's even Al Gore's win. He got 281 they projected in Florida in 2000 when he won by 500 votes. And this election map looks tighter than that. That is, the Democrats have not secured as many in polls as Al Gore did in the year 2000 when he lost to Bush. So that's good news.
Everyone says the race is tied, the race is tied. It very well may be.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there's not a possibility, maybe even a big possibility, maybe even a majority possibility that one candidate wins by a lot.
That's exactly right. So, if you were basically to model this out, as a bunch of folks do, will the 2024 winner get 300 plus electoral votes? A majority chance of yes, they will get at least 300 electoral votes, a relative blowout in today's day and age.
CNN doesn't know it, but they're making the case for a Trump blowout. Kamala Harris, again, if she has a blowout, it'll be to barely reach 270 electoral votes, which is what you need to be president. If Trump wins, it could go all the way up to 312.
How the heck is that possible? Well, essentially, if you look back at swing state polling averages since 1972, the average error in the swing states is 3.4 points. And of course, all of the 7 closest battleground states are within 3 points. So if you get an average error and it all goes in one direction, well then, lo and behold, you will in fact get a blowout in the Electoral College of the winner getting at least 300 electoral votes.
And that's where I believe Trump's win lies, within that 3%, not the voters. That's the polls. Remember, this is not the vote. This is why the polls are dead. They did a 3% margin of error, and they're keeping it within that error intentionally to give Kamala Harris a chance. That's my theory on it. They're ignoring the non-voter, the traditionally uninterested voter that are all coming out for Trump, and they're ignoring them deliberately to keep Kamala Harris within the margin of error.
What does that look like? Well, if the margin of error benefits Kamala Harris, you get an average poll miss, it benefits Kamala Harris. Of course, she wins all these Great Lake battleground states, but she also wins down in the Southeast, and she wins in the Southwest as well. She gets up to 319 electoral votes, a huge, big blowout by today's standards. Of course, it could go in the other direction. If the polling error benefits Donald Trump, he actually wins all these Great Lake battleground states. He wins in the Southeast, and of course, he wins in the Southwest, and he gets up to 312 electoral votes.
Hold on. He just said Kamala Harris gets a blowout if she can secure, he circled North Carolina and Georgia, which are both very difficult for her to secure, and then blowouts like Nevada and Arizona. I think Arizona, Trump's ahead. So even that mythical scenario is so far slanted toward a blowout being in Trump's favor than Kamala Harris. I don't know what he's even thinking.
Trump could do better than he did in 2016.
Correct.
But tilts the other way. Harris could do better than Joe Biden did.
Does it look like Harris is going to do better than Joe Biden? It looks like Trump could do better than he did against Hillary in 16. All of the early polls are showing that people are coming out in support of Trump more than people came out for Biden in 2020. That's across the board. That's even Democrats are saying that. So even that scenario is fiction. Here's Trump on Barron Trump.
And I have a guy who's at home with the First Lady, and he's very smart. He got into a great college, and he's now in college. He's 18 years old.
That's Barron Trump, who's 6'9". He's 1 inch taller than me, so now I'm angry at him.
And he gives me good advice, Dad. Just take it easy now. You just take it easy, Dad, all right? You don't have to go too much here. He gives me good advice. He's very wise.
Barron is very wise. Trump's job with this election, anyways, is done. There's nothing more he can do to eke out more votes. It is time for him to rest. Now the rest of the job is up to us. If there's any polls that haven't closed yet and you haven't voted yet, you got to get out there. But this is in the hands of the American people.
I think the pollsters are getting this wrong. We're all missing something because they're giving us the same poll over and over again. They're telling us we're watching a basketball game where every play is a jump ball. Somewhere, somebody is missing something. I think I'm not going to call it a wave, but I think there's a wavelet out there of Republican enthusiasm and registration.
I'm Doug, in exile. Subscribe.